So I went through all of the upcoming extreme demons that I know of and picked out 10 to compile a list of what is, in my opinion, the top 10 best upcoming extreme demons to look forward to in 2023. If one of your favorite upcoming extremes is not in this video, feel free to comment down below what that level is and why you like it. While you're down there, please feel free to like and subscribe. We are so close to 10k. Please, thank you. So for each level, I'm going to give my basic thoughts on the level, its decoration, theming, etc., and then make an estimate on where the level could be released. For the most part, I'm leaving gameplay out of this because I haven't really played any of these extreme demons, considering that they are quite literally unreleased. And also, like, most of these are out of my skill set anyways, so I'm mostly just going to leave gameplay out of this. Also, I'd like to say that Return Zero, as well as a few other well-known big projects, will not be included because they are more than likely not going to be released in 2023. So Return Zero, Orochi, levels like that aren't going to be on this list, unfortunately. Now, this first one might piss a few people off, but whatever. At number 10, we have the Apocalypto Trilogy. A lot of people don't like AP Team and how they make their levels because it feels somewhat corporate to them. I don't really think corporate is the best word to really use to describe it, but generally what I see is people saying that, the decoration is pretty much the only good thing about the AP Team levels. And some people don't even like the decoration. Which is fair, everyone can have their own opinion, but I personally do like what they've done with the Apocalypto Trilogy, at least in terms of decoration. Like I said, I'm leaving gameplay out of this. The level is constantly being revamped to the point where it's kind of ridiculous at this point, but it really just shows how much they really want this level to be the best that it can be, at least visually speaking, because a lot of the parts in this level are absolutely insane. It brings something new to the table in terms of hell theme, other than just realistic lava, but also just more intricate designs and just ways of depicting what hell would actually look like, as opposed to just a red level that everyone refers to as hell theme because it's red. The reason it's down at number 10 is that while I do still think it's a really good level, which I'd like to stress, all the levels on this list are really good. I don't have really any big problems with any of them. This is just sort of ranking them relative to each other. But the Apocalypto Trilogy isn't too consistent in terms of the style and in terms of the quality of certain parts. For example, Kuluk's part is very realistic, whereas the part before it is more glow or mechanically oriented in terms of the style of the block design. So there are a few consistency issues, so that's why it's not higher on the list. So my prediction for when this will probably end up getting released is somewhere around the fall of this year, because the level still has some upgrading to be done, and I think once the level is given to Trick to verify, it won't take him too long to verify, considering that I don't think this is really aimed to be buffed any more than it already is. My guess would be, since it was predicted to be top 10 around a year ago, it would probably end up being around top 20 now. So think like maybe November of this year. This one's a bit of a wild card, as Zimnor could just decide to redo the entire level yet again, or even just release it as it is without too much more upgrading in like maybe early June. Like it really is more of a wild card. Next up is Ton 618, which is a level I have talked about before. This is referring to the remake, not the actual Impossible level. That's never getting released, let's be real. The Ton 618 remake is specifically a black hole space-themed level that mirrors the original Ton 618 in many ways, mostly according to the gameplay, but also in the deco. There's also more of a mechanical block design. Generally, I like the deco in this level. The only problem I have with it is it's sort of chaotic and very busy in terms of how much debris there is on the screen, and just looks kind of messy. Almost like over-detailed. I understand that's part of the point of the level, but that doesn't change the fact that it is indeed a little bit disorienting. Overall, very solid upcoming top 1. My prediction is this will end up being a open verification, considering that it is a lot harder than what's currently being verified, at least to my knowledge. If they gave it to Space UK, it would probably be out within the year anyways, so we're just not even going to consider that because it doesn't really affect anything. But I think the deco will be probably done around July based off how fast it's going now, because it seems like they're taking it part by part and making sure each part is the best that it can be. And there's 3 parts done already, so it probably won't take too long. Oh boy, next up we have Nutra at number 8. So on paper, the decoration in this level isn't exactly the same level as juggernauts like Ton 618. The reason I like this level is because it's very outside the box and very fun to watch. The way the gameplay flows and the structuring and the song make for the level to be a lot more interesting and sort of more unique in a way, and honestly it's just kind of a breath of fresh air to have an effect level amongst all these art levels. As for when this is probably going to release, I would go as far as to say it'll release actually this month, considering that Aeon has 89 and 16 to 100 on the level. There is a possibility that he might decide to take a break and it would release sometime in the first half of March or even the second half of March, but I'm pretty confident in that it'll get released sometime in February. So good luck to Aeon on the final stretch of this verification. Next up at number 7 is Cosmos. I actually really like this level's decoration, because again, we're leaving gameplay out of this for the most part. I love the theming, I like each part individually and how they connect to each other. There is enough progression in the level so that not every part looks the same, but they're not too different from each other. The level looks absolutely beautiful, it's just there are a few levels that I would prefer just ever so slightly, which again, every level on this list is amazing. Also, it's space themed, so that's pretty cool too. As for when this is going to release, it's another wildcard, sort of like with APT. Because yeah, Dolphy is the verifier for this, but he's not exactly great when it comes to verifications these days. So it kind of just is a matter of time for when Dolphy either gets the verification taken from him or just actually drops the level. Because I think if Dolphy did actually try on this, it wouldn't really take very long. Like if Dolphy actually picked up the verification and was grinding it out, it would probably be something that I could see being released sometime this summer. But because I don't really see that happening, I can't say that this will be released until maybe September or October, when the level will probably be given to just some random British kid who's cracked at the game, who will verify it in like a week or two. Or what's more likely is it'll end up being an open verification, in which a random British kid will still just verify it in a week or two. Yeah, so yeah, sometime in maybe September. Next up at number 6 we have Waterfall. Now, I don't think this is being branded as a Fireworks sequel anymore, which is all I have ever wanted for this level, because then I'd have to judge it partially on how it is a sequel to Firework, and this has like nothing to do with Firework. The whole opposite sequel thing is just stupid to me, like dude, just make it an independent project, like come on. The reason I like this level so much is because it's sort of an ice or winter theme level, which is not really something we see very often. Off the top of my head, the closest thing I can really think of to that is Frozen Cave or maybe Storming Summit. And the intensity of the gameplay and the intensity of the decoration is really fun to watch, especially in combination with the song, because the level really matches the song. My prediction for when this level will be released is towards the end of the year, probably around the holiday season with like December, because it'll take a while for this level to get finished, and I think the verification will also take a decent amount of time. Whether this level will be originally seen as a top 1 and then sort of do a Cosmos thing, where it just sort of slowly turns into more of a top 5 or a top 10. It could do that and end up being verified maybe a bit earlier, sometime in November, but my guess would be in December. I kind of highly doubt that a lot of the levels on this list that would still call themselves top 1s now will end up being top 1, just because top 1s have been getting completely out of hand. And I think creators are starting to realize that forcing your level to be top 1 is probably more likely going to ruin it, at least in terms of playing it. And it doesn't exactly win as much in public opinion either, because, for example, Limbo is a lot more liked by the community than Acheron. Next up at number 5 we have Edge of Destiny. Now, I know what you're thinking, what happened to Edge of Destiny? Poltergeist is currently verifying the level with, as of a day ago, 22,100, and as of a few weeks ago, 78 from 0. It's been taking quite some time with the verification process, but it is towards the end. I've made a whole video on why I think this is an excellent remake of Blade of Justice, because it doesn't force itself to be top 1, it's very true to old Blade of Justice, or unnerfed Blade of Justice, I should say. There's like, old Blade of Justice and unnerfed Blade of Justice are completely separate things, which is really funny. But I do actually think that the decoration is very good, even just by itself, as well as the theming is spot on with Blade of Justice, and sort of a space theme introduced, which wasn't as much originally in Blade of Justice, but I think it's a really cool addition. In terms of when I think it will actually get verified, I think Poltergeist is pretty close to the end of the verification, considering he does literally have 2200 and 78, which are two very heavily overlapping runs, but my prediction would be sometime in late March, early April of this year. So this one, along with Nutra, is something you look forward to in the near future. And my guess is that it'll end up placing somewhere around the top 15, which still means it absolutely deserves a lot of recognition. Next up at number 4 we have Eternal Night. Eternal Night is pretty well liked for its art and, of course, its actual decoration and a very interesting structure it has and how it matches the song. The decoration in between the art cutscenes is currently being upgraded. It was pretty good to begin with, but the fact it's getting upgraded is also just amazing, because I do think there was a bit of room for improvement, so that's good. And also, this level is literally going to be Cursed magnum opus, apparently. So it's going to be top 1. I absolutely love this level, it's very unique, it doesn't really stick to one color scheme throughout the entire level, which isn't really something we see as much of nowadays. However, this is again another wild card for one sort of controversial reason in terms of when it's going to release. So once Eternal Night is done being redecorated, technically Cursed originally had the verification to this as of a few months ago. However, people have been questioning Cursed legitimacy, not as much as they would, like literally Nick XD or something, but considering that there was the hitbox drama with Silent Clubstep and Slaughterhouse, meaning that he's no longer on Pointer Crate, some people think Cursed actually is hacking a lot of his completions. Now, again, I'm not going to pick a side on this because I simply do not know enough about the nuances of the situation. The only reason I bring this up is because it's possible it could affect the verification of this level specifically. So, if, for example, this level becomes an open verification, technically that means it would be a public release of the level for anyone to give it a shot and try it, so if it's an open verification, it'll definitely be sometime this year, maybe in like August, but if we're talking about a closed verification, for example, maybe Cursed is still verifying it, or maybe it's given to Space UK or a different top player like Zoink, it could be any time in the second half of this year, or maybe not even this year at all. I'm still pretty confident that Eternal Night will release this year, somewhat bit optimistic, less realistic, but I think there's still a decent chance. Also, let me know your opinions on Cursed and everything with that in the comments down below. That's not really something I know very much about. If you guys want, I can make a video on it. So if that does sound interesting to you, then feel free to comment down below about it, and maybe even your take on the situation. I just simply do not know enough about it as of yet to really give any opinion I have on it, or even really talk about it. I just thought I should mention it considering that it does somewhat affect this level to some degree. Next up at number 3 we have Cytokinesis. This is probably the easiest level on this list, because it seems like it's more of a mid-range to entry sort of extreme demon, so a decent amount of you could probably end up going for this at some point. But this is just some of the best stuff I've seen in quite a long time. The decoration sort of supports this progressive theme throughout the level that you're escaping some sort of trap and has to do with aliens and space and stuff, and it's just awesome. It's got very mechanical looking parts and everything. I would highly recommend giving this level a watch. It's also awesome to see a level that effectively conveys some sort of ominous theme with it without it being hell theme. My prediction for when Cytokinesis will actually end up getting released is probably sometime early this summer. There aren't very many parts left, and it's an easier level, so the verification process isn't really going to take very long. So my prediction would probably be May of this year. But yes, this level is cool and it's underrated. Go give it a watch. Okay, so next up at number 2, this one will be somewhat controversial, but I'll try to explain myself the best I can. Ascension to Heaven. So I really like Ascension to Heaven. I love the Heaven theme. I think it's executed very well in each part. It's a longer top 3 to top 1 as opposed to, like Unknown or something that's like barely even 50 seconds, which is somewhat a breath of fresh air. However, a concern has been brought up more recently that a lot of the parts just look the same, which I personally don't really agree with. That being said, because it's such a long level, even though the parts aren't really like the same thing, it can sort of blend together. However, we haven't really seen the full level yet, and it seems like the creators are at least decently open to criticism and trying to change a few things around this. From what I can tell, it seems like there'll be sub-themes for each trial of the level, which are the different sections of the level, because, it's like 5.5 minutes long. They had to do something. I also think part of why this would be the problem is that all of these parts were being uploaded like days within each other and all in the same format. So if you just keep seeing my part in Ascension to Heaven popping up in your YouTube recommended, it's eventually just going to blend together no matter what if there's so many parts being revealed like that. So obviously you can disagree with pretty much anything I say in this video, but especially this I would completely understand considering that a lot of people do have the valid concern that a lot of the parts look very similar. I just don't personally see it that way. So my prediction for when Ascension to Heaven will actually be verified is probably November of this year, because I still think it's going to be verified by Jenny. There is a possibility he'll drop the level, but I'm pretty confident that he'll stick with it. But I think the level will probably end up being finished around maybe May or June, so it'll give Denny plenty of time to verify it before the end of the year if we're looking at this from the perspective that it'll probably get released before the end of the year. Of course, there isn't really a guarantee that any of the levels on this list will be completely released before the end of the year. It's just very likely. At number 1, we have Shinigami. Shinigami has some of the best decoration I've seen ever. In addition to this, it's a theme that hasn't really been seen before at all. It's unique, it's well decorated, I think the gameplay is being more paid attention to because it's not forcing itself to be top 10. So it's very much a level I'm looking forward to, and it's at the top of this list, which, by the way, let me know if you guys want a video on Shinigami where I go into more detail about it, because that is something I've been considering making a video on. I think Shinigami will probably end up being verified sometime around October, because it'll take some time for the level to actually be finished, but the verification process doesn't seem like it'd be too big of a deal, because it's not really forcing itself to be top 20 or anything in the high main list range. So yeah, those are my top 10 favorite upcoming Extreme Demons that I'm excited to see probably released sometime this year. If you liked today's video, then please, like the video and subscribe because we're so close to 10k. I'm actually going to try to upload consistently this month. I kind of took a break over January, not only because I got tired of making YouTube content, but also because there's just a bunch of IRL stuff and drama that I had to deal with, so I didn't really have as much time to upload. And yep, that's about it. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.